Okay, today, hopefully this will be a useful session. Going to start off with the tip for the week. It's going to be about navigation hints, specifically in Portal. And then we'll have our little interactive discussion where I'm going to ask a question of you guys so that we get your feedback about the product and the direction that it's going, things that happen there. And then the main topic for today is going to be about reference data, also called lookup lists. We'll do that feature. And then at the end, like always, I'll hand off to our founder and CEO, Piotr, to talk about the future development of the tool. So to begin with, let me share. So for navigation tips, basically the tip is this: when you're in Portal, watch as you move around and look for things as you move around. Look for hover text popping up. Look for places where you can right click or click to get to objects. And things like this, they're just kind of hidden over here in the corner, but they enhance the overall experience here in Portal, giving you a little bit better or enhanced experience for you and for your users. So the examples I'd like to show on this, I have a couple of them. One is, I was looking the other day at Lineage, and something that I've seen before, I knew it existed, but I want to bring to your attention is when you go in here, of course, you can double click an object and it will bring up in the preview panel information about that object. So here I have information about that facts table. I can do the same thing over here, get information about that procedure. Actually, it's a temp table, and things like that. The thing I want to point out here is this little icon. If you can see that right there, that's a lineage icon. If you click that, it will take you to the lineage for that object. So that's a useful way to very quickly navigate around two different objects based on lineage. The one I specifically want to show here is when you're looking at columns, you can do the same thing. I can jump to the lineage for a particular column like this and go directly there rather than, I counted, it takes 4 clicks if you navigate to it manually, the old-fashioned way. So you have that ability to jump around just by clicking on these icons. And once you get in here, of course, there are other things that you can do that are useful. Again, you can double click on the name of the column to get information about it. You can, here's a really cool one, double click on the line and it will bring up information about that process that is moving that data. So you get the details here. If there was a transformation involved, you would see that. I actually have an example. If I expand this right here, here we can see a transformation that occurs as during this process, this flow of data. So it helps you get insights into that. So really the take-home message here is go around, click on things, double click on things, look for these icons that are used to link things together. Basically, constantly be looking for these tricks of how to navigate around. There's another one here that is new and useful, and that is up here. You have this arrow. You can click that, and it brings up a list of all of the columns that are in that same table, and you can jump directly to those. So it saves you a lot of clicks to navigate around and find things. So that is very useful. Another one that I
Richard,
found.
I wanted to
Question?
add that no, it's I wanted just to add that search function in this dropdown is very useful. When you have a lot of columns, you can search really quickly. It was visible, but just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, yeah. So there's a lot of tricks here you can use to easily navigate around. The second example I want to give here is something that I stumbled upon. I didn't know this existed. I'm not even sure when it was added, but this is really cool. If I hover over a name here, I get this icon right there. It looks like an edit icon, but click on that. This brings up functionality that previously only existed in desktop. I can go ahead and I can define primary or unique keys. I can add a relationship. This functionality I stumbled across. So again, this idea of pay attention and just keep your eyes open as you're moving around and look for things that pop up as you're doing this. Another one here, we've mentioned this one before, but this icon right here, this brings up a history of changes that have happened. This one has had no changes. It's just it would be the title of this table. So there is no title defined, so no changes. But you can get to these capabilities or functionalities easily to do this. The product team is working hard to make the portal more interactive and easier to navigate around. That's really the take home here is these are ways to make your portal experience easier, faster, more streamlined for your users. So take home, hover on everything, see what it looks like, click on everything, see what kind of functionalities you get, and make your job a lot easier, honestly. So, any questions about that or comments?
So Richard, those adding relationship and all those are for data stewards, right? So viewers and explorer, they won't have access to do that, right?
Correct. I am logged in as an editor here. The same thing, if I go here, I have that edit button right there where I can actually edit that title. So yes, those are things that appear for the data stewards. Yeah, good point. All right.
I wanted to comment that you mentioned that there are a couple of new functionalities now that we're focused mostly or solely on the web. There will be a lot more coming, a lot more improvements. Right. We're constantly working on making the portal experience the best possible. So yeah, watch for new things in every release. We try to document everything, but a lot of those changes are added recently.
Right. And I would add to that, a lot of us as users, we feel very comfortable with these tools and probably don't go back, every time there's a new release, we probably don't go back and read the release notes every time to get all of these little details that may or may not be included in the release notes. So again, that's why I urge you, just pay attention as you work around here, kind of keep your eyes open. For example, that icon right there on the data lineage tab title, that is kind of a cue to you to watch for that icon like down here. So it helps you as you navigate. It's kind of a hint that something is available there. All right. So Piotr's comment is actually the perfect introduction to the question that I want to ask today. And that is, the product team is working to, as Piotr mentioned, enhance the experience with Portal, add more capabilities as we move closer and closer to eventually a web-only version of the tool. The question for today is specifically about this front page of Portal. So as you know, some of these links here are active. They will take you to these parts of the catalog. Others are informational only. The product team is redesigning this front page. The question is, what would you like to see on the front page? What do you think would be useful both to you and to your community members, your users? What things do you think ought to be exposed on this front page? And again, you're welcome to take yourself off mute and give us your comments, or you're welcome to put those into chat.
Yeah.
I was going to say, maybe it's an introduction, Piotr, if you can say kind of the things that are already planned for this page.
Yeah, exactly. Because for my section today, I have what we are building right now, or what we're planning. So maybe I'll maybe we'll jump to that section, and that will give you some ideas of what you might expect more from that. Okay, so
Okay.
I'll borrow the screen. Okay. We see the home, the homepage
Yes.
of the homepage presentation. Yeah. Okay. So this is gonna be a very quick one, short one. So here's a design. It's an early design. We're also working on the graphical side of the product as well. How the homepage could look in the future, and actually in the next release 24.3, we are introducing this homepage. I don't know which widgets will be added specifically. I think all the ones that you see, but I'll list also a couple of other ideas. So the homepage will be comprised of widgets. There will be a library of predefined widgets, and that will be editable. Not editable in this release, but probably next one. So you'll be able to define a custom homepage, and that will be different. Could be different for different user groups, and also for specific users. So a specific a person could customize it for themselves. So we'll be shipping a number of predefined widgets. And over here, you can see this is a summary from the workflows. So you can now find it in the Steward Hub if you're using the workflows statuses that we introduced recently. This is a summary, and on the homepage you can already see what's on your plate. The newly published objects. This is the new feature of hiding certain workflows impact the visibility of objects. So that would be where you will be to see what objects are recently has been published. If you're a viewer, that's particularly useful because that's something that you could be interested in checking out. You can see 4 elements here, but there will be a scroll, right? So you'll be able to scroll, and there'll be probably some I don't know, 30-day window or something like that. Then recently viewed objects, something that the objects that you viewed recently, just like with e-commerce platforms. Bookmarks, we are introducing bookmarks in this release, so you'll be able to bookmark different types of objects and add them on the. So that will be like the preview of those objects, and I'd like us to split this by different object types. You could configure which object types are included, so we could add, I don't know, bookmark dashboards, bookmark, I don't know, tables, and so on. And the last one here is the overview of community. What was going on? What was happening in community? It's currently available when you click the option on the right-hand side, but it's not very visible. And with this, you will be able to promote community more.
And
okay.
Piotr, there was a question of will a search and advanced search also be in the new homepage?
I mean, it's always on the top. in the bar. Right now it's duplicated. I don't know if it's maybe it's not very visible, but search is always available on every page. So maybe we will add it here
Banner.
below the name. Yeah, but it's always there. That's why I suspect it's not added to this design. Yeah, but maybe what we could do also to create search as a banner itself, right, as a widget. So you could define where the search is visible. You will be able to define the size of those widgets. And in the future, so I told you recently that we're working on the dashboard engine, and you'll be able to create your custom widget that will be like SQL query, some type of visualizations, table, chart, or, tables and charts, different types of charts from our repository. So you'll be able to, create some kind of add some charts here as well. So, yeah.
So Piotr, talking about a possible search widget, maybe the ability for people to create a search and save it, or define a search and save it, and maybe have a list of their commonly used searches that could be listed in a widget right there on front, so they have to redefine that search if they want to have it reusable.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yes, maybe that, or maybe like a browser of specific object types with some kind of filters. Yeah. Here's a list of other of everything we currently have in our backlog. I think I mentioned everything except maybe the last two. So recent editing activity, that should say activity summary. So basically what was being edited, added, in some kind of tabular format. I don't know exactly, but you'll be able to see, okay, these sources, these tables were recently edited, and maybe drill down, right? So right now it's not, you cannot really see, which objects has been edited. So some kind of summary of that, and schema changes. So there's a schema changes on every source, table, and column, and there will be a summary of that as well. Again, I don't have a clear idea how detailed, maybe a very top level. So you'll be able to see, okay, today 5 tables changed in CRM database or something like that. So if you have any other ideas, suggestions, that's the right time to share it.
So the one that I really like is the bookmarked objects. I love that one.
Yeah, so we're adding the bookmark button in this next release. So yeah, I also like it.
Great. All right. Everybody else out there, what do you think? Do you have ideas of other things that could be added to the homepage that you think would be useful?
You can think about different types of users, different groups of users, and what they would be interested in.
Yeah, I just mentioned that actually the same thing, Piotr, that when people are using that homepage, actually that, okay, 60% of the people might be viewers and or explorers. And then the other community users or approvers or data stewards, you can break it up into the rest of the 40%. So whatever design which you have, actually that, okay, it would be good to basically keep that in mind for the homepage. And that's where basically, okay, I mentioned about the search, right? Because most of the 60% people who would be coming would want to search actually on specific things. So it could be either search or it could be advanced search. But the rest of the things which you are doing is great for all the other folks, because especially that, okay, where approvers or data stewards, they would want to see basically, okay, what do I want to do? and all the bookmark and all the recently things, those are all good, because as of now it looks pretty empty kind of thing, but filling with the things which you are planned is awesome.
Good. Yeah, I don't know this release, but you'll be able to build different home pages for viewers and stewards, right? So viewers will not be overwhelmed with information. Yeah, I suppose for them, newly published objects, like, I don't know, terms, that would be very interesting to engage them. And community summary, probably these two, and bookmarks.
Yeah, I think the ability to create a custom homepage based on a user group would be very useful.
Yeah, we haven't figured out how to, which one to show if you're in two groups, but
Mhm.
I suppose, a random one would be better than none. Than no customization, I mean.
Okay, cool. So just to clarify and make sure I heard correctly, there will be some new version of the homepage in 24.3.
Yeah, correct. I believe something very similar to this. I think the scope is exactly that. Maybe there will be more charts, widgets rather than less. And I don't know about the customization part, right? So maybe there will be just one homepage. It's still open.
Yeah, I get that. All right, cool. Anybody have any other suggestions or comments? All right, great. Well, if I can take the screen back, Piotr.
Sure. Yeah.
All right, thank you for that. Okay, so the discussion for today, go ahead and dive into that. Discussion is about the reference data feature. So the place I want to start this is basically, what is reference data? And the way I like to describe this, let's see if I have an example here. I'm going to start right here. I think I'm in the right place. You know, when people are writing definitions for columns, for example, and they put something in there like permitted values are, or sample values are, something like that. So I've got an example right here. You can see allowed values include finance, human resources, and so on. That is basically the reason we have lookup lists and this reference data, is so you don't have to do this. So I have this one here, and I'm going to give you a minute to look at those allowed values: finance, human resources, logistics and purchasing, marketing and sales, production, reporting and analytics. Now, let's go down here, and this one, look at the possible values there: human resources, marketing, finance, or IT. So first off, there are 4 in this list. There were 6 in the other one. IT was not in the other list. Marketing is different. This illustrates a problem, and that is the maintenance of putting your lookup values or your sample values into definitions. They are extremely hard to maintain and keep current. Let's say this company, even here, let's say that they split, I don't know, reporting and analytics into 2 departments. All of a sudden, this is, again, it's incorrect. Or if they change logistics ampersand purchasing to logistics and purchasing. Again, these things are basically impossible to maintain when they're put into descriptions like this. That is the reason we want to have lookup values. The other situation is, in the case of department name, we have a finite list. There is 6 of them in this case. But what happens when you start thinking about something like states? You know, there are a lot of state names. Here we've got US states, but what about when we go, well, actually there was British Columbia right there. What happens when you start going internationally and you have other places that you want in here? These lists get very long very quickly. You can see this one has 64 items. Obviously, you're not going to put 64 items in the description of a state column. So having it separated out into a lookup list makes it easier to maintain. And I'll talk about how to update that so it stays current here in a few minutes. But that ability to maintain it, keep it up to date is important. The ability to have a complete list. So you can see here, this list is long, and that ability to see more than just a few, you know, maybe up to 8 or 10 is kind of the maximum that would even be possible or, you know, feasible in a description. So this lets you have much bigger lists. And I don't know if you've noticed here, but let me zoom out slightly. This list actually applies to several different columns. I've got 5 different columns here that are all reporting their occurrence of state names against this single list. So you can start to make the data more cohesive and more standardized that way, not to mention the ability to maintain it and keep it up to date. So the next question is, why do we want this? What's it used for? Some use cases that I can think of are the BI team, the reporting analysts, as they are working with writing a report or something. Let's say they want to aggregate based on state name. It's nice for them to be able to see what the values are, what the existing values are, and what the accepted values are to use in their report. For example, if this table had state names spelled out and also state names abbreviated, they would need to know that so they can deal with that in their aggregation. So it's important for the BI team to be able to have visibility into what exists and what is allowed or accepted. Likewise, data scientists, as they are doing their work, they also need to know what exists in these columns, so they know how to work with that data. I mentioned the possibility that you may have instances where state names in this example are either spelled out or abbreviated. There's also the possibility that there are misspellings. You know, that happens, of course. And so hopefully somebody there is paying attention and is concerned with data quality, data cleansing. This allows them to get insight and to very quickly see, you know, those outliers, the things that are not supposed to be there. So they can't fix them here. It's just reported to them that the situation exists, but it's very easy for them to locate those and then go back to sources and fix them, you know, do that data cleansing. And then when they come back here, the list is updated and they can watch those corrections occur. Likewise, they can see, you know, how many instances of those exist. So if we had, if Louisiana was spelled incorrectly in, you know, 10 rows here, they would know there are 10 rows that need to have a cleansing operation put there to fix that situation. So data cleansing can be supported. Another use is if you have an app where people are entering data, this helps them to know what they should be entering. It prevents situations like people putting in abbreviations for state names or adding other values that are not accepted. So, did I hear a question?
Yes. Richard, I need to ask if I can export this view only as Excel sheet or CSV file.
No, I don't think we can export this. Is that true, Piotr? Can we export these
Well,
lookup lists?
Yeah, not from the portal currently, from desktop, right? Because yeah, you can select the entire grid and then copy it. So
Okay. So in desktop, yeah. So a data steward or an editor can do that.
or actually, well, I think well, okay, those are pages. So you could copy from this page, but page by page. So it's not super convenient, but possible.
Yeah,
Okay.
not a export function, but you could copy from it. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Okay, good question. Thanks. All right. So the next question is, where is reference data? In the portal, we find reference data down here in the sidebar menu. We have that reference data option right there. And this brings up, similar to when we go into other assets, it brings up a list of where these things exist. I have mine in a manual database that's called lookups. You can see it right there. And I have these lookup lists defined. So if we click here, there is the lookup list. We can see it is linked to the name column in the department table right there. And we can see in that pop-up, remember I said, watch your hover actions. There's that pop-up that shows the definition of that. So you don't have to go to it to see the definition. You can see it right there. And also there is a glossary for department name, a glossary entry. And again, and you will notice these are the examples I used where I was talking about maintenance having the possible values in the descriptions. So ideally that needs to be removed from there so we can rely on the lookup list itself. But you do have these links to go out to where the lookup list is pertinent. And right here, we have that values tab. So you can see what the values are in this column right there and what the occurrence is. This is a what I would call a lookup table in the database. Might call it a primary key table or a parent table. But here are these values that are allowed and the occurrence. Obviously, they're unique because this is a lookup table. And if someone added another one later, it would appear here when you refresh, re-import those lookup values. So this is where you find this, and you can get here and you can look at these. There's the states we were just looking at. So I have a bunch of these defined, and you can see what is linked to them right there. Let's see. Okay, so how do we create these? We create them in desktop. Let's go to desktop right here. There are a couple of ways that you can create lookup lists. So I'll talk about each one and kind of the use of these. The first place is if we have selected a database container or a collection over here. In the ribbon, we have this add object, and it's right there. You can add a lookup right there. Basically, you give it a name. If you want to manually add values, for example, if you wanted to create one for email domain, you could add these in here and you could do, Gmail and Hotmail and Yahoo and whatever they are, you can add these manually. You can also bulk add them from an Excel file where you may have those predefined. And so you can copy and paste those in here, same as bulk adding other things. Notice where this creates it. It creates it right there in the object that we had selected when we chose add object right there. So it will put it in that location, and I'll talk more about location here in a second. But this is a way where, to me, this makes sense if you want to create kind of a predefined list. You know what's allowed, and you don't particularly care about what exists as much as you care about what's allowed. That's what I would use this one for. You can use it the other way. You can go ahead and create a container and link it to columns, and I'll show how to do that linkage in a minute. To me, this makes sense if you have a predefined list and you want to do it that way. The other way of doing the same thing, rather than using the add object in the ribbon, you can just do a right click right there. And this will take you to the exact same place right there. So notice in that case, you don't have to have the object selected. If I were to choose, for example, down here and add that object right there, notice it is in the transactional database where I clicked. So little bit of a difference, just pay attention to where you right click to get to those, and you can create those. I would call them a manual lookup list. It isn't really, but just the way I think of it is that way. The other way, the way I like doing this, is to go, let me find the place I want to look at here. It's in the transactional database, and the table is transaction types right there. Okay, so here I have a transaction types table, and let's say I want to create a lookup list based on that transaction type name column. I can simply right click there and create a new lookup. And it gives it a name. You can change it, of course, if you wanted to. It's going to put it in that database container and so on. Here is the key to this one. You can choose to have it look at values and import those or not. I like having that turned on. And if I create that, there we go. Those are the unique values right there that it's going to put into this lookup list. Go ahead and create that. And now it is created. Notice there is a link to it right there. So I can either click on that, or I can just right click and go to that lookup, or I can preview it. So let's go ahead and go to it there. And you're going to say, well, I thought we created that. What's the problem? The problem is not a problem. It is a step. And that is, once we create this list with values, with their occurrence, we need to accept or reject these suggestions. So let's say we like this one. We're going to approve that. And you can do this by multi-select right there. Well, I thought I could multi-select. I guess I can't. There we go, approve, and approve that. So it starts to put these over there. Then when you go over here, you see those. And this becomes that list of what is accepted for the users to rely on as the approved values. The others, if we were to reject something, let's say, I don't know, let's reject this one right there. And there it is. We have a list of rejected ones. The place I would use rejected is if something was misspelled. For example, in one of my lookup lists, the word California is misspelled. So I rejected it and I mapped it to the correct spelling of California. So you have this ability to give extra information again about what's happening here. Now, the location that put this is in the container or the database area where the table and the column existed. Notice it's right there. It's in the transactional database. I like having this manual database container called lookups, where I put all of them in one location. You can do that or not. I like having them separate that way. You can just pick it up and move it like that. Now, when I go to my lookups, there we go. There's that transaction type name lookup right there. So you can put these all together regardless of which database they actually pertain to. So that makes it very easy for people to find them when they're over here. If they click on reference data If they are in different containers, that would be reflected here. All of the different databases would be listed, and people may have to search to find the lookup that they're interested in. Likewise, if I look at my states here, when I look at the columns that are linked, notice I have the reporting data warehouse. I have the company database. I have the transactional database. They would have to look, basically there would be multiple lookup lists for each of these if you relied on keeping them in the separate containers. And it kind of defeats the purpose of being able to standardize. So putting them into a single container here makes sense to me because it allows you to standardize these. Any questions at this point?
Nothing in chat.
All right, good. So the next step here that I want to look at is, let's go look at my department name lookup list right here. So it's possible right here, you see this is linked to one column right there. It's in the department table, the name column right there, and we see that occurrence. You can link this to more columns. So we just go right here to the linked columns and terms tab, and we have an edit icon right there. And I can search for department right there. We're going to get, let's go to department name. We're going to get a list of columns where this exists. So we can add that right there. And we're going to tell it, yes, we want to fetch, and save that. Link it. Okay. And you see there it is right there. We have that link. I'm going to import the values. Not sure why I didn't import that before. Maybe I just need to refresh. Okay. Yeah. Oh, because that's my glossary. This is the one I just added, was the employee dim right there. So that's that. Now we see we have, again, the action of accepting or rejecting values. We have those that are accepted, and you can see the occurrence of those that have already been accepted in that other dim right there. We can see how often it's used. So it's that easy to add columns and to update the contents of these lookup lists. It's right there in that import lookup values right there. I believe you can also do it here. I don't remember for sure. I think you can. Maybe not. But you can definitely do it up here in that import lookup values option in the ribbon. So again, it allows you to keep these things current, so that people always have that up-to-date information, rather than something that they may have to ask somebody, whether those values that were included in the description are current or not. And it just makes a much better experience there. Question for Piotr. I believe that in the future, this import lookup values or refresh lookup values is going to be added to the scheduler capabilities. Is that correct?
Yes. Actually, we would like to embed it into the scanning. So you'll be able to select the level of scanning, and so it wouldn't be like a specific task for importing lists. It would be just, you'll specify on what dates, on what days, the lookups are refreshed when you do regular import.
Right. Right. Okay. So not a separate task like this, but an option on the import task, right?
Potentially. We don't know how to do it. It will be, so the way I imagine it right now, we didn't agree on an implementation would be you schedule import and then you select one of the levels of how deep the scan should be.
Okay.
And then there's a configuration what task should be performed at each level, right? So let's say you want to have like a medium scan and lookups will be included there. And if a deep scan would be, for instance, data profiling as well, right? So yeah, so something like that. And still didn't agree on the final solution, but
all right, good to know. So that will be implemented in some manner in the future. For the time being, it is a manual process of clicking this import lookup values. And I believe that is based on one lookup at a time. It makes sense that it would be one at a time. So yeah, that's how we create those, how we use them, how we update them, how we expand their use by linking additional columns. You see states is linked to 5 different columns there in different databases. So this allows you to really get a view of where information exists and what information exists. Now, the last thing I want to talk about here is that Steward Hub also supports this. So if I go Steward Hub, and by the way, I ran across something the other day. When I open Steward Hub, I see only one of my tiles here. If it's maximized view. If I take it off maximized and go back, all of them are shown. So a little trick there if you're wondering why you're not seeing all of your Steward Hub tiles. Anyhow, if I go to reference data, lookups, it will make suggestions here about lookups about possible lookups. It will suggest things here for you. And what we're seeing here, I'm looking right here at marital status. The 6 there is the number of columns that it found where there's a marital status column, and it's making a suggestion you may want to have a lookup based on this. Gender, there are 6 tables or 6 columns where that exists, and you can see that in a decreasing occurrence rate there. But this allows you to quickly scan these and see what Dataedo thinks would be valid lookup lists for you. And then you can accept or reject them. So I don't know, right here, date currency ID, to me, that doesn't sound like a very good option for a lookup list. So I can either click on it, it'll open it over here. I can see where it exists. I can reject it all the way down here in the very bottom right corner, or there's a hover right there. Again, watch those hovers. I can simply reject that and say, don't show me this suggestion again, basically. If I want to accept one, for example, if I want to accept this marital status, I click on approve. There are the columns that it believes would make valid input for those. All I have to do is decide where I want it to go. Remember, I want them in my lookups container right there. If I want to put a title, I can, and I just save that. And it's going to go out, it's going to create that object for me and populate it with the values from those 6 columns in this instance. So it's really easy to use the Steward Hub to get suggestions, scan them, decide which ones you like, which ones you don't like, accept or reject. And the beauty of this is once you have accepted or rejected these, they won't appear in this list again. So, for example, if I refresh this, those will be missing from the list. So again, this is a tool that you as data stewards can use to target your work and get to value very quickly. Any questions? That's really all I wanted to say about lookup lists. If you have questions, happy to answer those. All right. It's always scary to not have any questions. It makes me wonder whether it was a good presentation or a bad presentation. So anyhow, that's all I have for today. Piotr, do you have anything else? Chase?
Nothing from my side.
All
No,
right,
no.
good.
We're on time.
All right. Thank you all for your attendance today. Hope this was useful. Everybody have a good day.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Richard. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.